because it consumes a lot of electricity. That's the main concern, and there are a lot of solutions getting a lot of energy out of the environment. So here we are focusing on what are the things that we can do in terms of blockchain community ecosystem to generate and get more sustainable technology from blockchain. So these are some of the use cases, scenarios, and end up with one of the projects that we are working on sustainable solution. So this will ultimately helps to manage environment and also achieve SDG goals defined by the United Nations. So environment impact in today's overall technology is quite high, especially things like traditional blockchain, which is high energy, consuming a lot of energy, especially proof of work mechanism. So that's where sustainable solutions comes into play, where we need to build blockchain Web3 solutions that need to be energy efficient for the future, right? Otherwise, we'll consume a lot of memory, a lot of resources, natural resources throughout our journey. So ultimate goal is to create an energy efficient blockchain mechanism. So at the moment also there are a lot of integrators, blockchain networks comes up with this solution, but as a ecosystem, as a developers, startups, companies, we need to adapt these things in order to adhere to environment guidelines, right? So in this session, I'm going to go through some of the use cases, some of the techniques that is possible to achieve these environment milestones. Carbon footprint is one of the key things in cryptocurrency mining. So you can see a lot of energy used in different carbon footprint. So at the moment, there are a lot of ways that carbon is measured, like carbon trading platforms are there, blockchain and non-blockchain based. So how much energy, how much carbon that you are emitting, right? So based on that, we can decide how much green your solution is about. So we can add the green economy to blockchain environment. So where it could be an integrated solution or as a platform itself. So these are some of the things that we can integrate into the blockchain ecosystem to make it green. So let's start with green cryptocurrency and tokens. So again, we can look at what are the greener blockchain networks at the moment to get started, and then what kind of solutions we can introduce to make blockchain more greener and safer for the environment. So in terms of energy consumption, you can see in this chart, electricity consumption per transaction, including the Visa included. So Solana is the lowest at the moment. So you can see it's used proof of stake mechanism. So the energy consumption is quite low. Again, not 100% efficient, but at the moment, based on the current ecosystem, based on the current frameworks, current blockchain networks, you can see Solana is number one. So that is in terms of blockchain networks. But just using the blockchain network is not going to be energy efficient. We need to also use the solutions, right? We need to use different use cases that can be adaptable into the green economy, right? But the first step would be using an energy efficient blockchain platform. That's the one kind of option, and this will lead the market into bringing new networks that will be more energy efficient as well, because more people are talking about it, more people are using these techniques, right? So that helps to bring more networks that is energy efficient, right? Because if you look at traditional blockchain network, it's a heavy consumption, right? They can consume more than a city, right? Like electricity that's consumed in Singapore that can have in this blockchain network. So that's why we need to think about these things to make this ecosystem more suitable for the coming years in terms of efficiency and sustainability. Then in terms of solutions, so renewable energy integration. So here we can also come up with certain solutions in terms of energy, in terms of carbon trading, in terms of carbon credits, things like that. So these are certain platforms we can introduce for green sustainability. So in the green economy, the carbon trading will become a lot of key parts. So a lot of large enterprises at the moment looking at making sustainable solution, how much green impact that they have, especially energy companies, even any like company that have this carbon footprint. So they are coming up with solutions to make that measure the number of carbon that they are burning up. So then we can introduce blockchain-based solutions to make it more efficient and provide another layer of platform on top of that. So blockchain and carbon credits comes into that. So that's where we can introduce trading of carbon credits to combat these global efforts, right? So where we can have a carbon trading platforms built within the efficient blockchain networks that can be efficient and it will be decentralized in nature, that all the organization can use this and can be used. So it have all the capabilities that have in the blockchain, plus it can build into the carbon trading ecosystem that is really using at the moment for large organization, because they want to measure their carbon footprint. So even if you take on a flight, sometimes you get notification, if you take this particular flight, you burn this amount of carbon in the emission. So likewise, you get that verifications and it can be integrated into day-to-day electricity. So we work on a project where we can measure electricity consumption in a fridge, house, like certain electronic equipments, so we can measure everything. So based on the different electricity providers, based on the different, now we have IoT sensors and all this, that can capture the electricity. So where with that, we can measure the carbon emissions and then we can calculate according to that. So here, traceability and transparency, that's provided by default in blockchain, that can be added into the ecosystem, and we can provide unique solution into the carbon-based emissions and carbon-based trading platforms. At the moment, you can see it's really early stage, because main perception of the general public is the blockchain consumes a lot of energy. So that can be changed with the new blockchain networks and new innovation coming in. On top of that, we can add another set of platforms that can introduce these capabilities that blockchain provide to make the trust in the carbon emission and make them more aware about these things, because ultimately we have this SDG goal defined by the United Nations. We also have the General Assembly this week. So where these goals need to achieve, right? So there are a lot of goals related to the environment that need to achieve by 2030. There are some goals, so likewise every 10 years. So one solution is blockchain-based energy trading, where we can define this energy consumption. Could be in the grid, could be nuclear power plant, could be coming from different sources, and this is transparent. This is not owned by a certain electrical company, private at the moment. It could be visible to everyone, because energy is one of the key things that talks about these days, like could be fuel, it could be natural, sustainable or non-sustainable. So likewise, so that is one area of blockchain adoption that still lacking, but it's one of the use cases that we can implement. Of course, the energy companies, those companies, we need to discuss with them and we need to make them on board with this process that helps to understand these things and build an integrated platform to make sustainable solutions. Then we have sustainable blockchain in healthcare. So the healthcare side, in terms of patient privacy, efficient healthcare system and accountability, like COVID, we had the biggest healthcare problem in the decade. So in terms of how we can secure the personal data, how we can have transparency in the network, then again things like the certain the injections that we do, like that, the transparency in that. So that's another use case that we can have. Then we have another use case into smart cities and sustainable solution. That is, smart city concepts actually come through IoT, where we can integrate all the things together, like a sensor from a home, traffic camera, then MRT line sensors, everything, air sensors to detect the air quality. So everything can be integrated and then can be measured. So at the moment these things are happening, but not on the blockchain-based enabled networks. They are happening in a more centralized networks. These things are happening. This data are measured at the moment, countries like in Singapore. But we need to make it more transparent, more aware. Then there could be more efficient ways to optimize these things. So of course, some of the optimization we can also integrate technologies like AI to do more optimization. But blockchain helps to make that process transparent in terms of smart cities, that we can have a centralized kind of way that we can look at what are the sources that highly consume energy. Maybe you can see in the peak times, traffic cover, rush hour, there's a huge energy consumption. Then there are off-peak cover, there's like that. So how we can balance out these things, how we can transparent on that. So this is another use case that we can have. Then carbon offsetting with blockchain. So that's what I meant. So there are places that carbon is highly used, and then there are places that sustainable. So how we can offset in between these two scenarios, and how we can add a value into carbon offsetting process. So challenges of achieving blockchain, sustainable blockchain. This is some of the challenges I mentioned. Lack of knowledge is one thing, because blockchain technology known for like scams and other kind of privacy issues. So that's why we need to make them aware, so make the public aware. We need to have more discussions like this. So this is a really good public forum that we can have discussion about this, make aware about the technology and what are the things are possible with the blockchain platforms and the ecosystem. So then the efficient blockchain network, because blockchain network need to be efficient itself. Traditional networks, you know, when you talk about the network itself, it takes a lot of power. So we cannot talk about sustainability anything if the network itself taking a lot of power. So that's where the blockchain network need to be efficient, sustainable. The ecosystem can be then sustainable, and then we can adapt these technologies much easily. Then we have another use case where we can have things like water management. So it could be used for efficient water management and getting again as part of the IoT, where these days IoTs are key. Everything you have sensors, cameras, can connect everything, then can track all the energy, right? You know, these IoT sensors are really powerful these days. Those are directly connected to internet. So why not connect to blockchain, right? So you know, IoT is Internet of Things. By default is connect to internet. So why not connect to blockchain? So when you get all the features of blockchain through IoT, right? So that is where these changes, these features can be coming into the blockchain ecosystem. Then the social impact of these could be really high when you adapt these things. As you can see, this could be help the overall community, overall impact of the society, because we are doing a lot of energy efficient kind of solutions, and it again helps the ecosystem and is actually help to achieve sustainable development goal. And in traditional ways, at the moment you can see there are solutions in a traditional way, like centralized solutions. But in that is owned by the organization, is centralized. But here you get more transparency. Everyone can see what's happening. Everyone can look at accountability. Right? It's really transparent what's happening. So we can see clearly the energy impact, the resource usage, everything. So that's where the contribution for sustainable goals comes in. There are a lot of goals that we need to achieve. So the environment related goals, especially the electricity, energy consumption using sustainable solutions, things like that really comes into play. Things like IoT, sensors and the solution and the use cases really helps to bring all these things. So what gain from this? So with this, first thing is we are gaining really good sustainable environment and the economy. And also we can also introduce things like this. So where we can introduce to certify like energy certification on blockchain. So we can have this green certification. So green certification can be introduced to validate this green usage, right? So certain carbon trading or certain platform we can issue. So you know, when you issue something in blockchain, is public blockchain is permanent. So it's permanently can be tracked, can be transparent, and can be issued like that. Then again, we can also issue things like green building certification. This is for real estate, where the efficiency of a building to measure. So how much efficient and how much energy it will consume, what are the techniques that is using. So we can also use this kind of a techniques to do that. And other than that, we can also introduce things like carbon accounting for blockchain. So this carbon trading becoming more popular in terms of number of carbon emission. So everything now we can calculate and we can do the accounting process in the blockchain network. So it will be permanent. So it's not centralized. As I mentioned, we can measure the energy from fridge, like any electrical equipments. Now IoT can measure entire energy that is consumed, and this is real time. It's not like after 1 month or like that. IoT actually sends the data in real time. So within the 1 hour also we can say what's the real-time consumption of the energy. Then that's why the education really helps. So this session also kind of part of the education and awareness, where we need to make this more aware, the green usage and what is the advantage and what kind of use cases that we can have. So that overall help the ecosystem to bring more efficient solution. And again, on top of that, we need to think privacy and security concern. That's common for any technology, where a lot of PDP and other frameworks are there. So where we need to look at when you are collecting data, what kind of regulations that we need to follow in terms of data collection. And finally, I will wrap up the session with showcasing one of the solutions that we are working on in terms of blockchain green energy tracker. So where we can keep track of the energy that's consumed through the blockchain. So what are the particular energy or carbon-based emission? So we can keep track. So at the moment we are in Ethereum, but we plan to move to Solana. So here is a kind of a technical diagram. So where how everything connected. So where how each of the carbon credit emission can be connected through the smart contract, and how it can be then set up into front end. We are using React. So how we can build into the actual solution. So we have to have smart contract, deploy, and then I'm not going more into technical side, but giving you some high level understanding about, like, if you want to build something, what are the things that you need to do that. Then this is the ecosystem and kind of like a diagram. So these are some of the energy sources that we are capturing on. Could be like different IoT sensors that we capture these things in real time, and then can be easily connect, because IoT by definition is Internet of Things, right? Why not connect to blockchain, right? Blockchain is again in the internet. So that's why it's a kind of a unique way that we can address all these things and provide a really efficient solution. It's a kind of the flow diagram of the things that connected in each layer: IoT, smart contract, application, and then the company perspective. Then of course we have smart contracts, couple of them written. Then since time is running out, I'll quickly go through the final slides. Then these are some of the user interfaces. We have the mobile and web version. It will be some of the ways that this can be given out to the public users of this particular solution. Then on top of that, we can have things like logging in, and then backend can be also connected. Then these are some of the tech stack. Plan to move into Solana network as well. So likewise, you can see here like the usage of green blockchain solutions, and just one use case that we are doing, but it's a really massive scope, and a lot of innovation and things need to do in coming years, and especially in terms of SDG goal, we need to actually do this, right? It's a kind of a priority when government have certain priority and other organization department have. So, and as I mentioned earlier also, IoT by default connect to internet. Why not connect to blockchain? So everything together we can actually build a sustainable kind of ecosystem. So that's the first thing we need to do, is make aware about this. So this platform is a platform for that. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity. So you can contact me with this email address and my website. You can also, if you have any questions, we'll ask later after the session. Thank you everyone.